To really understand what happened in this case, we have to go back to 2019, when Virginia first took the role of caretaker for Jon and Lois. Earlier, I mentioned that at first everything seemed to be working, right? And technically it was, just not for very long. It's hard to say exactly, and it's hard to pinpoint the exact moment when things started going downhill, but based on the research, one turning point seems pretty clear, which is when Jon and Lois gave Virginia access to their finances. The arrangement should have been simple. She would pay their bills, she would handle any other things that they needed to get done, make sure everything was running smoothly, and remember, they were also giving her a weekly allowance for helping care for them. And for the first time in quite a while, Virginia now had a steady source of income, because remember, she wasn't able to really hold a job in the past. But instead of simply managing the money responsibly, Virginia began taking advantage of the access that she had, and not in small ways. Pretty much as soon as she had control of their bank accounts and their credit cards, she started spending. And she started spending a lot. She was using their credit cards to fund major online shopping sprees. She was also gambling online, excessively. And if you've ever seen how quickly money can disappear with online gambling, you know how that can spiral incredibly fast. I mean, one click and thousands of dollars can be gone. And it wasn't just spending, it was also taking out loans in her parents' names. Which even for 2019, that's pretty wild that she managed to do that repeatedly without getting caught sooner. Unless she had some sort of power of attorney and some other things in place, but still, they usually would flag things. I don't know, it's bizarre. Now, even though Virginia was technically in charge of paying the bills, Jon did still try to stay involved to some degree. And when I say involved, I mean that he would stand nearby while she worked, and he would ask her questions. And honestly, it was kind of like normal dad behavior. I mean, it was his money after all. And after handling the finances himself for years, I'd imagine that it probably wasn't easy for him to suddenly just hand over that responsibility entirely. But every time that Jon asked questions, Virginia seemed to get more and more irritated. Jon started noticing that there were piles of letters from the bank showing up. So he'd ask her about them, which to him, that amount of mail from the bank, it seemed highly unusual. Except in reality, it made perfect sense. Because Virginia had been taking out so many loans. Jon just didn't know it yet. Eventually, though, he managed to get his hands on one of the bank statements. And what he saw immediately raised alarms. There was about $77,000 missing. So, of course, he started asking the obvious question. Where the hell did all of our money go? And honestly, he was completely justified in freaking out. Even though Virginia clearly found his questions annoying and she had an answer ready to go. And remember what her siblings had said about her? That she was a habitual liar? People who lie easily can often come up with explanations very quickly off the cuff and make them sound convincing. And that's what Virginia did. Virginia told her father that she, unfortunately, had become the victim of fraud while paying their bills. She said that she had already reported the fraud to the bank and that everything was being handled and, going to be worked out, so there was no reason to panic. Everything, as she claimed, was under control, but she just was trying to basically appease him and get him to stop asking questions, which, how sad is this? Because you're lying to your parents who you're taking advantage of. They trust you, you're their daughter, and she was defrauding her own parents and then blaming it on somebody else. Now, what's even more unbelievable is that Virginia didn't stop at just telling her father this fraud story. She actually went a step further and she drafted fake letters from the bank.